The sun had not yet risen when Alex opened his eyes to the sound of seagulls calling above the sea. Gentle waves rolled onto the shore beside the small fishing village. Alex quickly dressed and stepped outside into the cool morning air. The sky glowed with soft shades of orange and pink. His father was already waiting near their wooden fishing boat. Together, they checked the fishing nets and loaded supplies onto the boat. "Another beautiful day for fishing," his father said with a smile. Alex nodded and looked out at the sparkling ocean. Fishermen from nearby homes slowly gathered at the harbor as the village came to life. Alex loved these peaceful mornings by the sea. As the boat drifted away from the shore, he wondered what adventures might someday come his way.
The morning fishing trip began like any other day. The sea was calm, and the sunlight danced across the water. Alex and his father worked together to pull in a large fishing net. Suddenly, the net felt much heavier than usual. "There must be a lot of fish in here," Alex said excitedly. When they lifted the net onto the boat, they found something unexpected tangled among the ropes. It was an old wooden box covered with shells, seaweed, and tiny barnacles. The box looked ancient and mysterious. Carefully, they opened the rusty lid. Inside rested a faded map drawn on yellowed paper. Alex stared at it with wide eyes, sensing that it might lead to something extraordinary. After returning home, Alex placed the map on the kitchen table. His father lit a lantern so they could study every detail carefully. Strange lines, symbols, and landmarks covered the old paper. One path seemed to lead beyond the forest and waterfalls near their village. "Do you think it's real?" Alex asked. His father smiled thoughtfully. "There is only one way to find out," he replied. Excitement filled the room as they discussed the possibility of an adventure. They packed food, water, ropes, and other supplies for the journey. Alex carefully folded the map and placed it inside his backpack. That night, he could hardly sleep because he kept imagining what they might discover. Early the next morning, Alex and his father began following the map. The trail led away from the village and into a beautiful forest. Tall trees stretched high into the sky, creating cool shade along the path. Birds sang cheerful songs from the branches above. Sunlight filtered through the leaves like golden ribbons. Alex listened to the sounds of nature all around him. Although he felt excited, he was also a little nervous about the unknown journey ahead. His father noticed his expression and smiled reassuringly. "Adventure always begins with courage," he said. Alex nodded and continued walking. Together, they followed the winding forest trail deeper into the wilderness. After several hours of walking, they heard the sound of rushing water. Soon, they reached a series of magnificent waterfalls hidden deep within the forest. Mist filled the air, and a rainbow shimmered above the falling water. The map pointed directly toward the waterfalls. A narrow trail wound carefully along the rocky cliffs beside them. Alex stepped cautiously while admiring the breathtaking scenery. Suddenly, he noticed unusual symbols carved into several rocks. The markings looked similar to the symbols on the map. "These must be clues," Alex said excitedly. His father examined them closely and agreed. Together, they copied some of the symbols into a notebook before continuing their journey. As they followed the trail, Alex heard a soft cry from nearby bushes. He carefully pushed aside the leaves and discovered a young deer lying on the ground. One of its legs appeared injured. The frightened animal tried to move but could not stand properly. Alex knelt beside it and spoke gently. His father gathered sturdy branches and large leaves. Together, they created a simple support for the deer's leg. They also gave it fresh water from a nearby stream. After some time, the deer slowly stood up. It looked at them gratefully before taking a few careful steps. Alex felt proud that they had helped a creature in need. Not far from the waterfalls, the symbols led them toward a hidden area. Behind a curtain of falling water, they discovered a secret cave entrance. Alex's eyes widened with amazement. They carefully stepped inside while carrying a lantern. The cave walls sparkled with glowing stones that cast colorful light everywhere. Ancient drawings covered the stone surfaces. Some pictures showed fishermen, forests, and sea animals. Others displayed symbols matching those on the map. Alex felt as if he had stepped into a forgotten chapter of history. The deeper they explored, the more clues they found. It became clear that the cave was connected to the mysterious map. Deep within the cave, they reached a massive stone door. Strange symbols covered its surface from top to bottom. The door had no handle or lock. Alex studied the markings carefully. Then he remembered the symbols he had copied from the rocks near the waterfalls. Comparing them to the carvings on the door, he noticed a pattern. "I think I know the answer," he said confidently. Following the sequence, he pressed several symbols in the correct order. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the ground gently trembled as the stone door slowly began to open. Bright light poured from the hidden chamber beyond. Alex and his father carefully entered the hidden chamber. They expected to find gold or treasure chests. Instead, they discovered something even more valuable. Shelves filled with ancient books lined the walls. Old maps, tools, and fishing equipment rested on wooden tables. The chamber preserved the history of people who had lived in the region long ago. Some books described the sea, forests, and waterfalls. Others explained how villagers once worked together to protect nature. Alex turned the pages carefully, fascinated by the stories. His father admired the craftsmanship of the ancient tools. They realized this discovery could teach future generations important lessons. After documenting everything, they returned to the village. News of their adventure spread quickly among the villagers. Everyone gathered in the village square to hear their story. Alex carefully explained how they found the map and followed the clues. His father displayed copies of the ancient books and drawings. The villagers listened with great interest. Several village elders recognized some of the symbols from old legends. They were amazed that the stories had been connected to a real place. children asked many questions about the cave and waterfalls, Alex happily shared every detail of the adventure. The entire village celebrated the remarkable discovery. The discovery inspired the villagers to take action. They realized that the forest, waterfalls, and cave were important treasures. A community meeting was organized to discuss how to protect the area. Everyone agreed that nature should be preserved for future generations. New signs were placed along the trails to encourage respect for the environment. Volunteers helped clean the forest and maintain safe paths. Alex worked enthusiastically alongside his friends. The villagers also created a small educational center to share the history they had uncovered. Visitors were encouraged to learn rather than disturb the area. The entire community felt proud of their efforts. Alex knew they were honoring the lessons of the past. Weeks later, life returned to its normal rhythm. Alex once again spent his mornings helping his father fish. However, he felt different after the adventure. He had become more confident, responsible, and curious about the world. The sea seemed even more beautiful than before. Sometimes he visited the forest and remembered the hidden cave. His father was proud of the courage and wisdom Alex had shown. "You have grown a lot," he told him one evening. Alex smiled and looked toward the horizon. He knew there were many mysteries still waiting to be discovered. As the sun set over the ocean, he dreamed of future adventures filled with learning, friendship, and hope.